This video on Oxford's Townscape will be showing my route through Oxford whilst looking at the built form and analysing it in terms of Gordon Cullen's serial vision of Townscape, and therefore judging if Oxford has a sense of place created by the factors that he discussed in his book Concise Townscape, and therefore will show us why Oxford is seen to be iconic. My route begins on Turl Street and then takes a right onto Brasenose Lane, following Brasenose Lane until Radcliffe Square and then takes a left onto Cat Street. Here I walk past the Bodleian Library where I turn right under the bridge of New College Lane, following all the way down New College Lane to Queen's Lane and then back onto the High Street where my route finishes. On Turl Street you can see the projection and recession of the different shops with different signs and setbacks, making the facade interesting and therefore creates something that is visually unique. Turning right onto Brasenose Lane, your eyes are immediately drawn down the road to the enclosed surprise towards the end, and therefore encourages you to go further, where you're met by pieces of punctuation such as the bike stand and the overhanging tree. Walking towards the end we can see examples of capture space and the building at the end, which reveals itself when narrowing more clearly. Further down the lane, the idea of here and there becomes very apparent. The end of the lane opens out into a much larger space that is the Radcliffe Square and creates a sense of mystery that encourages you to walk towards it by acting as a focal point. The end of the lane opens out and creates a closed vista of the buildings in front. The idea of public and private space is also easy to see here, with a fence that provides a physical barrier and is reinforced by the change from cobbles to grass, emphasising the difference in use between the Radcliffe camera and the public square. At the end of the lane, if you look right, your view is deflected by the Radcliffe camera towards the church on the south side of the square. The church is clearly framed by the two buildings on either side and creates a silhouette, breaking up the skyline by creating fluctuation. The gate to the side of the square creates a boundary and makes the change in space from the square to Cat Street very evident. The boundary between public and private space is also even more clear here, as you can see to the right of the clip. The building around the square also slow the movement of pedestrians and increase the viscosity. Buildings on Cat Street provide a narrowing which then frames the view in front and funnels pedestrians towards what looks like an opening in the road. Because of the widening in the road, the flow of people is much smoother and faster, creating an environment which is less viscous when compared to Radcliffe Square. Looking into the Bodleian on the left, the different spaces are once again clear as shown by the metal railings. There are, however, a gate with pillars on either side creating a vertical presence, which then invites you towards the intricate architecture behind. Then as we turn right, we are immediately met by the bridge that crosses over the road and acts as a form of truncation as it provides a sudden visual leap. The road itself bends around to the right, and because we can't see what lies ahead, the idea of mystery is created and entices us to walk in further. Further down this road, you can see how the road meanders and extends the sense of mystery, and the road narrows and hides what may be around the corner. The door in this case breaks up the facade and acts as a visual incident and draws you in, creating anticipation. This theme then continues around the corner, where your gaze is focused on the wooden door at the end of your view and is also enhanced by the silhouette created by the buildings that lie above it. Turning right, the bollards in the road clearly mark the change of space, and the linking of joining of different materials on the road and path create the visually interesting texture, which is then framed by the bridge that lies over it. Here there are many incidents which take place on the road, with the overhanging trees as well as the more temporary items of punctuation which make this part of the road visually interesting, as well as the change in floor textures once again, which shows the divide of public and private space. The final part of Queen's Lane opens out again with a slight narrowing back onto the High Street. The buildings on the left show the idea of projection and recession, with different alcoves and windows, while the opposite side gives the street continuity. The tops of the buildings also do the same and create an intricate roof line, which again makes the facade more unpredictable and therefore interesting. When relating this to Grandpont, we could incorporate the feature with similar dimensions as Radcliffe Square as shown. I believe that a focal point like this in Grandpont would give it a greater sense of place and therefore create a better development for the residents. The idea isn't to copy what's there, but to use the principles that we've learned and incorporate those. All in all, Oxford clearly has a sense of place when analysed with Gordon Cullen's theory of Townscape, and is why Oxford's built form is so iconic.